Sometimes wonder how people, oh, I wouldn't say live. Live's not a right word. I mean, people live because, you know, they're, they, there's the desire not to die, the need to keep on going, even if stuff gets hard, you want to keep pressing on, because, you're not going to let this thing, quote unquote, be the end of you. Um, and maybe it's a I've speculated this before. Maybe it's just a matter of, there you go. Maybe it's just a matter of having challenges to overcome. Um, and, having the courage to do those things. And I know I'm being kind of vague when I say things. I'm sort of thinking in life in general right now. Like, ultimately, maybe this is part of the quote unquote survival of the fittest. But the courage to take that leap. You know, I it's not a specific. I'm not saying this. I'm bringing this up because I kind of putting myself up for doing the same double jump thing, except we're going the opposite direction. Um, I don't mean this necessarily to be like a gender thing, like, but sometimes as a man, it feels like, you have to sort of make all the first moves, which is, I don't have any problem with, but it's a lot of it is, you're, I wouldn't say jumping into the deep end of the pool with no knowledge, but a lot of times, you know, it can be a little confusing for a man because we don't necessarily live in a subtle world. Oh, I missed that. uh, so, like, for instance, we don't always pick up on a very subtle hint someone likes us. Now, sometimes women can be a little bit more obvious about that kind of stuff. Like, I was talking to, when I was in college, I was working on a project, and all of a sudden, this girl that I never talked to in my entire life comes up and starts talking. And, oh, hey, how's it going? Just being friendly. And at a certain point, I kind of realized that I think she liked me because, like, at a certain point, I kept like making the same Family Guy reference, and she kept repeating the sort of the end version of that joke. And I kind of did it as a little bit of a test, if you will, just to see, are you playing along with my game, or is there something a little bit more behind, you know, while you're talking to me, you know, uh, there's not really any problem with talking to me or meeting someone for the first time. It just, I don't know, just seemed a little weird to me. There's nothing wrong with going up and having a conversation with someone, but like, there's a hidden motive behind it. I tend to not be as behind that, but I don't know. Men are men are a little dense when it comes to that kind of stuff. You gotta lay it on thick a little bit, but sometimes I wonder, like going out on dates, but you meet someone, you're not necessarily meeting them because you made the mistake, like I did, and you didn't find someone when you were in college because you were so concerned about, getting the grades, and you knew you had to work hard for it. You couldn't just relax and take it easy. So you worked hard to get your good grades, but in the end, you know, there's more to life than just getting the best job and getting the best, you know, going to the best school and getting the best job. About, the connections you make between people, and, you know, going out there and trying something new, or, um, And that's the part that's sort of fun about being human. It's a little bit scary about being a human, is the fact that, you know, you're liable to you're liable to fail, you're liable to be rejected, and in the long run, and this takes some experience, but in the long run you realize that if you don't take the risk, you'll regret it more than you'll ever regret the embarrassing thing. Because even if you fail, you have the rubble, if you will. You have the rubble of what you were trying to build that you can stack bricks on top. Now, mind you, I mean, if your house falls down, or, you build a tower of blocks and the blocks fall down, probably don't want to just start building on top of the uneven blocks that are gonna need to settle and will probably not make for a very good foundation either. However, you say that because you take the rubble that's there. I mean, you probably can't put the blocks that you use back together, but you can use the rubble as sort of like filler, in gaps between bricks, in the absence of mortar. And, even if you can't use any of it, complete waste. It's a complete loss. Nothing can be saved. Not a stone, not a brick, not a speckle of sand can be saved from your original design. You have the knowledge of what doesn't work. And the hilarious part is, I hate to say this, sometimes your plans weren't wrong. Your method of going about doing it wasn't wrong. You just were doing it in the wrong place. You were building on sandy soil. Or you were not securing down the ground beneath your feet before building. Or you missed the one key step. Hopefully you didn't miss the one key step. What was the difference between success and failure? But as good as we do think, ultimately nothing will be perfect, which is fine. That's the nature of being human. Whatever we do is not going to be wholly perfect. We're going to continue to work and improve on it, hopefully every day of our life. Even if it's just a little bit. Because ultimately things do age, and they need repaired or replaced. You look at the same, kitchen for 50 years. You might find comfort in that, or you might find it boring and want to remodel. But inevitably you'll have to at least paint, cover up, not necessarily dirt, but, paint a different color. Add some new furniture, refrigerator dies, you gotta replace the refrigerator with something new. Stove dies, you gotta replace the stove with something new. Things change. No matter how hard you want them to stay the same, they have to change. One of the great, I don't know, lies or truths we have to come to is that everything is constantly changing, regardless if we want it to or not. And it doesn't change by a lot. It changes a little every day. And it's good to enjoy what you have right now. Because it'll never be quite like that again. And maybe that's a good thing. For some people, we've come from a poor place, a bad place, you fight to improve your status in the world. Or maybe you just had some bad luck, or what have you, but, no, that's how you do it. Okay, great. Oh, you're not, oh, interesting. I thought I was just creating a platform for myself. I didn't realize you were going to come to life too. But, sort of what I'm trying to say is like, we often spend a lot of time trying to get that promotion, get that next house, make more money, be more successful, take more vacation, etc., etc. And in the end, is an experience any more poignant, when you do it in a nice place than if you do it in a not so nice place? Like, I'll give you a great example. I had a video come across my TikTok that was talking about a family that rented out. I'm going to assume part of Disney. I can't imagine they closed the entirety of Disney World for just this one family, but it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money, and not everything was open and running, because even if you invite 100 people to Disney for one day, or even 1,000 people to Disney for one day, how far does your dollar go? And it was a lot. It was like $700,000 to rent out what I presume is only part of Disney for a day. And like, not that couple, or they were getting married, but I failed to mention that. But not that wasn't special to them, but like, sort of what I'm trying to get at is like, I remember more about the vacations I took with my family, the 4 of us, then the 5 of us, then the 6 of us. And we never spent nearly that amount of money to go on vacation, even relatively speaking. Obviously inflation, $100,000 today, $100,000 10 years ago, or 20 years from now, or whatever, is going to be completely different dollar amount. This is fast. I don't know. It's not, I don't know. If you have the money, I guess good for you. But I don't think you necessarily have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a long-lasting memory. I think the memories come from spending time with your family and doing what you can the best of your ability. And I understand, if you've never been on a vacation before, it can be sort of frustrating. If your world is limited to a town or a small area of a country, it can be sort of frustrating. Wanting to travel to other places, learn other things, see other see other things in the world. And there's a lot of not that I've seen even 1/100th of this world, but it's fascinating to see, not just the differences between one town and the next, even in the same local area. One choosing to say modernize in the 90s, and the other one choosing to assume that, the good times will never end, and the businesses that keep their communities alive will never leave. But even going state to state, or place to place, or country to country, you see just a completely different way the world is. And in many ways, I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything, because I really appreciate, what my parents did to raise us. And parents are certainly not perfect, they're people. But I guess to get to my point, like, sometimes I wonder, is it like what? I'm a thinker. I think a lot. I think too much. Like what propels you to want to ask someone out? Let's say even we'll say particularly in like a high school setting, you know? Is it the naivety, that this will work out and we'll be together forever? Or, I mean, but you need those experiences to build yourself as an adult, and limiting yourself because it's not the smart thing to do is not the right thing to do necessarily, because you need those experiences even if they are failures to help you learn what you did wrong or what you could do to improve, or they're just to learn that you're not with the right person. It could be the right person, wrong time. It could be wrong person, wrong time, right time, wrong person. I mean, any combination of those things. But once you've spent time with someone for a very long time, I would hope that at some point, in the first couple years that you know someone, you would have made your mind up about them to, okay, this is a person that I can live with, and this is a person I can't live without. And maybe that's a little bit of naivety on my own part, but I don't know. Fear holds us back in this world. Fear of failure, fear of change, fear of staying the same. Some people have fear, and it doesn't control them. Or it does control them, but it doesn't control them in such a way that you can you could say, oh man, he must be nervous all the time. He's a boss of a company that makes millions of dollars every year. That's really got to get at him. Maybe it does. I don't know. I don't live with the person. I'm not him, obviously. But many of the most successful people, there's a book probably lots of books that are sort of these general practice, common sense saying. This is the one I'm thinking of right now, is to feel the fear and do it anyways. And it's again more of the sort of positive reinforcement of best thing you can do is try something new, and if you fail, then you have that experience. And the more you can do it, the younger you are, the less risk there is, the better it is. Because saying I've never owned a restaurant, I've never worked in fast food or anything, but to say I'm gonna open my own burger stall, take a lot of capital, take a lot of risk, take a lot of investment, take a lot of time, take a lot of dedication to it to get it to take off. Oh. Fascinating. And now falling moonlight, I presume. And am I back to my original hub area? Yeah, it looks like I've reached the end of the game. Or I've reached the next area anyways. Even though we just kind of fell from the sky anyways. Might be a new area up there to discover, so move along. You have to have the singing to open this up. The only way to get up. Uh-oh. Oh no. The darkness. Oh. 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 The darkness was not a force of nature. The inky gooey thing is... It's us. What's inside me? Huh. The broken statue, clearly. Got fingers there. Face. Part of a face, anyways. What are we confronting here? We were, I thought we were bringing color back to the world. I thought that was sort of the purpose of this game, but now I'm starting to wonder if this was... Colors were a metaphor for something else. Oh. Oh. I think we might be dealing with my least favorite subject. Oops. Don't fall down. I'll have to see how this plays out. I think we might be dealing... I think this might be a story about grief. Kind of makes sense since the game's called Gris, or Gris, which might be a different way of pronouncing or a different language version of the word grief. Because yeah, let's not fall down smart, but no, just a lot of the statues have been crying or upset or distraught, and we just passed what looked to be like a tomb, like someone important who's been laid to rest, and they created a whatever they call those, statue over the gravestone so that you can sort of look at them and remember what they looked like, but in stone form, you know. You usually see those on very important graves of like kings and that. We're rebuilding this statue because it was shattered, broken after all that came, all the sorrow that came before it. We're dealing with the grief. We're putting ourselves back together. Makes sense. Because we had black and white like we do right now. And then we had red. That was the color of anger. And green. Denial. sadness. Yellow bargaining. And then ultimately acceptance. As we heal, color returns to our life, little by little. Until we're whole again. And while the world may not be the same as once we left it, it's still there. A little different. A little changed, but nevertheless, it's still the same. And ultimately, things we lose are still with us in a way, and in another way, eventually we have to let them go. And they leave us with nothing but memories as they pass on from this world to the next. The sun comes up. It's a new day. A new start. And yet that little piece of us, that little part that we struggled with this whole time is gone forever. That was great. I don't fully understand, but it appears this may be a story of saying goodbye, returning color to your life after a tragedy, the darkness that consumes you, and the light that you ultimately find at the end. Because ultimately we do weave the colors back into our life. I was starting to wonder at a point when she started to sing. She had an angelic voice to her. And it began to bring things back to life. She sang. And at the end, she wasn't allowed to initially ascend until she's put back the final pieces together. A strange and mesmerizing video game this was. Alright, well, I'm gonna let these credits play through, and when we come back, hopefully we play something a little bit more uplifting. But until then, I'm gonna, like I said, let the credits play, and I will see you next time.